Hello everyone, Britt here from Scrappy Boy Stamps, and today we're going to do a tutorial for the Out of Order Elevator Builder Die and Stamp Set. The die set provides you with all the pieces you need to create your elevator, while the accompanying stamp set gives you all the elements to put it out of order. Let's jump right in and cut our large pieces. For the large pieces of our scene, we have a main base layer, a stitched base layer, and what I think of as the wall or wallpaper layer. Nested together, these create our base. Next, we cut our detail pieces. In your set, you'll find two very thin L-shaped pieces and two slightly thicker C-shaped pieces. These pieces help you create the wainscoting in your scene, while the small rectangular piece with two segments helps to create your baseboard. The largest of your detail pieces will create the actual elevator itself. A single pass will create the frame and one of two elevator doors, so you'll need to cut it twice to make your elevator complete. The remaining three dies help you create all of our smallest details, including the outline dies for both the out of order sign and the caution tape, and the up and down button for the elevator. We'll go over how to use the coordinating stamps with these dies later in the video. If you haven't guessed already, this out of order elevator is part of our math, science, and history collection. So I thought it was appropriate to cut my wallpaper layer from this atomic print found in the 6x6 paper pack from the collection. Now that all the basic pieces are cut, let's assemble our scene. To start, we're going to nest our stitched base layer on top of our main base layer. Then, in the same manner, we adhere the wallpaper layer to our base. Now, side note, if you happen to worship at the altar of the liquid glue as I do, I highly recommend the glue press by My Sweet Petunia. The hype is well deserved, and I wish I had gotten it sooner. I've also started using this small brayer to get some firm, even pressure for my base layers. I'm really loving this one from the Sizzix Making Tools because it's compact and it comes as one of the interchangeable heads for the making tool range. Now that our base is assembled, let's start building the scene. Your die set will come with two right-facing and two left-facing pieces to create your wainscoting. The design only requires you to cut each of these pieces once, but I went ahead and cut these two C-shaped pieces twice because I wanted to create a little bit of dimension without bulk. Once I stacked my duplicate pieces, I then placed each shape with the thickest section at the bottom corners and the open sides of each shape facing towards the middle of the card. It's important to ensure that these two pieces are flush against the bottom two corners of the wallpaper panel, and placing these correctly before any of the other detail pieces will help with your alignment as you build the rest of the scene. Next, we'll take the thin L-shaped pieces and layer them on top. As you can see, they're sized perfectly to fit around the outside upper corner of the previous piece. And yes, it does occur to me now that using all the same color paper for the example isn't that easy to see. Hopefully it's still easy enough to follow, and I promise I'll try to pay attention to that next time. The last piece to complete the wainscoting trim is the baseboard. Each strip of baseboard fits precisely over the bottom of the C-shaped piece. And again, this is not required, but I did cut this twice only because it created additional dimension, not because it's required to complete your elevator scene. Next, I'll attach the frame of the elevator itself, and I left in this little moment of indecision. At first, I thought I might make the frame brown to match the elevator doors, but ultimately I thought it looked better for the frame to match the wainscoting, and I just used those additional brown pieces stacked up behind the ivory to create, you guessed it, some dimension. After I was finished stacking my frame, I adhered it to my background where it fits perfectly between the right and left facing wainscoting. With all the trim done, we can assemble and add our elevator doors. When you cut your elevator pieces, you'll notice that this die gives you a few options on door styles. You have the option to use the door base piece with either the smaller nested rectangle piece, the rectangle frame piece, or a combination of both. For this example, I decided to discard the interior rectangle and use only the base piece and the frame. Once the frame layer is attached to both doors, it's easy to see that the doors fit snugly right in that spot left by the large frame piece. Once these two pieces are secured with liquid glue, the elevator is done just in time to add some additional details so that everybody knows this elevator's out of order. Once I got out my accompanying stamp set and began to try to make my caution tape and all the other accessories, I realized that I was doing things in a way that really didn't work for me very well. And although I only left in video of what works, I do want to tell you what I did that didn't work for me. Number 1, die cutting the pieces first and then trying to stamp them. It's totally possible that a better stamper than me would have been able to do this just fine, but I tried it both ways, and stamping first, cutting second was definitely the way to go in my opinion. Second, a stamp positioner is your friend, and so is one of these sticky mats that goes inside. Now I know not everybody has access to these types of tools, but if you happen to have these things, I would definitely utilize them with this particular product because it helped me keep my caution tape in a straight line, and it made lining up the parts of the out of order sign a breeze. Lastly, don't forget you have other tools even when you're positioning your stamps. This little fire alarm stamp kept sticking to my finger, but when I used this little pair of non-stick reverse tweezers, I was able to place it where I wanted it without the sticky. After all the stamping was done, I was able to line up the dies with the designs and run them through my Sidekick. Stamping first and cutting second definitely gave me better, cleaner results. When all was said and done, I had 2 strips of caution tape, 1 out of order sign, 1 little stairs only access sign, and a teeny tiny little fire alarm that you do have to cut by hand. But at the end of the day, it's just a little bitty square and it was no big deal. A couple of snips with my scissors and it was done. You'll see as I go to place all of my details that there is a guide on the back of your die set. You can configure your elevator any way that makes sense to your scene. But as you've probably guessed, I am attempting to depict the iconic set piece from the smash hit television show that inspired not only this elevator die set, but also our entire math, science, and history collection. This collection celebrates all things science, nerdy, and of course friendship. All of our cute little characters inspired by the BFFs in the show are represented by the 2 6x8 stamp sets and matching dies, Math, Science, and History, and Unravel the Mystery. Along with your favorite characters in these sets, you'll find a cinnamon-colored dog, a fun little takeout container, an atomic element, and a sweet little heart, all with matching dies. And if you're a fan, I'm sure your favorite part will be all of the dialogue-inspired sentiments from the show. Several of the characters from the show end up as married couples. So these sets give you lots of great opportunities to make cards for significant others and for holidays like Valentine's Day. For my project today, I used our favorite microbiologist and her physicist husband. So I decided to use one of my favorite sentiments, talk nerdy to me. As you can see, I'm concentrating my character images to the right of the elevator. This is also over the spot where you would normally see the elevator call buttons. But since I knew I'd be covering that spot, I decided it was unnecessary to include the buttons. I went ahead and added the cute little heart and popped up my sentiment, and the finishing touch were these teeny tiny little flat back gems. Now, if you've watched my videos at all before, you know I use shaker mixes for just about everything. But what I wanted to point out here is not to forget your seasonal shaker mixes. Sometimes that perfect little sequin or flatback pearl or gem is hiding inside of, say, a mix that has jack-o'-lanterns. So don't be afraid to pull out a mix from Halloween or Christmas or some other time of the year. As you saw, just because my shaker mix originally had bats does not mean that all of the elements are only for Halloween. Here is maybe a do as I say, not as I do moment. The finished panel from this die set does not fit perfectly onto an A2 card. Looking back at the footage, I can see how this orientation would help you create a floor to your scene. As you can see at the time, that is not what I was thinking, and so I just used my trimmer and evened it up. But you could definitely leave it. Now, you always know I make a bonus project to show you how to stretch your new supplies. And when I tell you that I could not wait to put this little elevator into a comic book scene, this elevator is an amazing addition to the Champions of the Universe range, and to me, the Out of Order elevator is a must-have. It's a unique design that can't be found a lot of places, and it's super versatile. If you made it this far, thank you so much for joining me today. We love you in our little crafty community, and we could not do this without you. Speaking of community, we have an amazing community of makers and fans on our Facebook page and Instagram. Make sure to follow us there so you don't miss any new product launches, shipping updates, a monthly challenge, and amazing inspiration by our awesome design team. If you are interested in any of the products featured in this video, please visit scrappyboy.com and take a look at all of the fun collections. Links to all of our social media, the Scrappy Boy website, and all of the places you can find me, as well as the supply list, will be in the description box below. Now, if any of you have watched me before, you know at the end of these videos, I usually try to make some kind of snappy little joke or give you a pearl of wisdom. Today, that is not the case. Today, I have a serious question for all of you. Tell me this. If you get into an elevator and you do not immediately start calculating whether or not your current group is close to the maximum weight capacity of said elevator, were you really on that elevator at all? Let me know if I'm the only one. See you next time. Bye.